out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back, so let's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. Or it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Welcome to Let's Get To, the baseball podcast from the fan's perspective. Now here's your host, James Christopher.
And welcome to Let's Get To. I'm your host, James Christopher, and we are back for another episode. We've got a full episode today. We're going to be talking to Chris Almendarez, the president of the Round Rock Express. Jess Knaster is here to fill us in a little bit on where we're going with minor league baseball contraction. Our good friends at Save MLB are here as well. Like I said, packed episode. One of the things that we're going to do today, and we're going to do today and on Friday's episode, is go through the Let's Get To award winners. Yes, we do awards, and I it's probably weird for people to figure out why a podcast would do that. And I come from the film community. I come from the film festival community. And I think that when people are doing something good or right, they should be acknowledged. They should be held up as an example. And so it was a natural progression for us to do that. We do plaques and certificates for some. And, you know, hopefully in a world that increasingly sucks, at least for some of these folks, they get a bit of a moment of, hey, maybe it doesn't suck so much. So we do awards for like our Entrepreneur of the Year. We give a Baseball Spirit Award for the person that like embodies the game. Usually we'll give an award for each level of the affiliated minor league baseball, but they didn't play. So that becomes harder to do. But we do have some. And one of the things that we have is our Twitter follows of the year. And we essentially narrow it down to 10 award-winning follows for us that we think are worth following. And there's a lot of criteria that go into that. One, knowledge of the sport of baseball, trying to maintain some sense of community. And it's interesting, or I think it will be interesting, the fallout for this, because, you know, there are minor league follows that everyone will follow and like. And then there are some MLB follows that my Astros fans will be like, why did you point me out to that guy? He says bad things about the Astros. And, you know, I'll say, well, listen, you know, the criteria really isn't the nature of the content. Is it clever? Is it funny? Is it informative? Is he or she trying to maintain a community? He or she being mad at your baseball team isn't the only criteria. And then what will also happen is some of the people that follow Yankees, Dodgers people will go follow these Astros fans and say, they're not sad about cheating. And they're like H-Town versus everyone. Same criteria applies. You know, there is middle ground here. And the fact is that we have to get beyond, what happened in 2017. And we have to get beyond it because I don't think all the truth is out there. I don't think all the information's out there. And I don't think it's necessarily good for the people in the sport who don't matter, right? Like we are as fans constantly ignored and disrespected by the groups and organizations that we do respect, or the ones that we are fans of. And so we've always done this where we've given these awards out. I think they do take a different tone in this post 2017 Astros reveal world. And again, this is not to create an echo chamber. I legitimately think the 10 people that we said are our Twitter followers of the year, our award winners, are worth following, whether or not they upset you on a given day. And I'll be honest, the majority of them, not the majority, a good percentage of them upset me on a given day. I think that there's this way we behave on Twitter, and then it is the what is the person behind the account. And I think all of these people, many of whom I've interacted with in different areas, more than meet our criteria for being good follows, good people, and I think deserving. So we will begin with our more minor league baseball focused follows, and that includes at Count to Baseball. So he is the minor league baseball logo reporter for sportslogo.net, famous for an incredibly awesome ice cream helmet collection. Definitely worth the follow. He is one of our 10 follows of the year. Also want to do a shout out to Baseball Jason too. Jason has been on the show as well, and he is a big minor league baseball and just independent collegiate summer league baseball, what have you, traveler. And in fact, he's actually ended up being, without realizing it, I'm sure, our forward advanced team at least a few times. Most recently, he was in Joliet last weekend, will be in Joliet next weekend. So definitely recommend following him. And we did want to recognize the Idaho Falls Chuckers. They've done so much to keep their community engaged. They were really behind the whole, or one of the teams behind the follow for a hat competition that kind of just grew and grew and grew and encompassed so many ball clubs. So really want to commend the Idaho Falls Chuckers. They're definitely worth following as they kind of, steer into the skid that is 2020. For our more Major League Baseball stuff, and you've got Astros follows and baseball in general follows here. At Astros County is the first that comes to mind. He's kind of the godfather of Astros Twitter. And I think also one of the more thoughtful and one of the more, I just come back to the word thoughtful, but he's reasoned in his approach and is a must follow. So we're big fans of him. At Cameron Doherty, if you're interested in Dodgers talk, but also into like a lot of wrestling stuff, I find that I've learned more about wrestling from him than I ever knew. I watched it as a kid, don't really watch it now, but he's a great follow if you're looking for that type of thing. So he's one of our award winners. Back to baseball, Emily, Miss Steal Your Base. And we're gonna put all the links down here. Fun, Yankee stuff if you're into it. But again, she's really intelligent, a really good baseball follow. Spencer, another Yankee fan, one of the nicest guys on Twitter. If we didn't give Erik the Peanut Guy the nicest guy on Twitter award, we'd probably give it to Spencer. But he does his New York Yankee hat of the day. He has connected me with other Astros hat enthusiasts and, just goes about following baseball the exact right way. Can't help but be a big fan of his. If you're into, I think, some of the best Astros snark, is snark the right word? I definitely mean snark as complimentary as possible, but he is absolutely one of the best. Archbishop DeShays is one of the best Astros followers for just that type of content. It's definitely a sharp wit. It is, but it's thoughtful and it's intelligent. And you should be able to appreciate that. He used to have in his bio that he wrote Astros fan fiction. Doesn't have it in there anymore. Wish he did. That's great stuff. At the Hitter Sports, the Hitter is somebody that I connected with a long time ago. It feels like a long time in the Rona, way back in January. And yeah, Astros fans you're not going to like his takes all the time. But I've never had I first got to know him when he was like, I don't understand why all you Astros fans can still be proud. And of course, before the pitch, getting me into stuff, connects me with him and we have a conversation. And guess what? I see a lot of his points. He saw a lot of my points. And we've been able to, even though don't always see eye to eye on stuff, I think be able to forge a friend as much, friendship as much as you can have one on this app without meeting somebody face to face. But, I don't agree with everything he says. He just probably doesn't agree with everything I say. But the point is that we've been able to have conversations about things, and that's what we really need. Right. And then our last award winner is Tony Adams. Tony is, been a great follow for me. We had him on our show as well. And for those of you not Astros fans, he is the one who was the Astros fan who wanted to get back to the bottom of the cheating. Whether it really happened, yes. Who all participated most, How effective was it? Remains to be seen. But he is the one who famously counted the bangs and then essentially has been referenced by all manner of media outlets. So those are our Twitter followers of the year. Next August, we'll have 10 different ones. We have a rule you can't repeat as a winner, but those are our 10. We'll have the links in the bio or the description of this episode for you to follow. And we are going to go ahead and knock out a couple of our other award winners that were mentioned before. We're going to knock out 2 more. Our contributor of the year, which is somebody who contributes regularly to Let's Get To, is going to be Jess Knaster. He's going to be on the show a little later on. And then our content creator of the year is the aforementioned show Before the Pitch. We had them on last week. We have them on every few weeks. So definitely recommend checking all of them out. Like I said, we have a great episode, so stay with us.
Show me the merch. The best from the pro shop.
And welcome back to Show Me the Merch. We have some great stuff from one of my favorite brands in affiliated minor league baseball, the AAA Columbus Clippers. Now, before we dive into what we got, dive in because they're a ship. So before the show even launched back in 2018, I made it out to a Columbus Clippers game. Our film, The 5 Year, was playing at a film festival at the Gateway Film Center in Columbus. And 2 of my very favorite people, Sav Rogers and Alicia Rivera, went out to a game with me. We had a great time. They were super patient, following me around. Sav helped me pick out a hat. He was great about it. Lish was just eating hot dogs. It was a great time. And it was really a really cool moment for us to be in one city for a very different purpose, but get a chance to have one of the best baseball experiences that I've had. And again, one of the reasons why I started the show was to help showcase what some of these teams are about. So here we have some really good looks. We're going to start with the traditional Columbus Clippers look. I love that the sort of block C with the Clipper ship part of the logo. And of course, because we're living in 2020 and the Rona, you got to get a Columbus Clippers face mask. And those of you who watch the show know that I am all about that like 70s, 80s baseball look. I think it's one of the best things going. This shirt with the kind of reminds me of this Astro shirt I had that was vintage back in 1983. So love this. Now the Columbus Clippers also have a great Copa de la Diversion look. And unfortunately, when I went to make this purchase, they were sold out of just about everything. So I did get a koozie with the Valero logo on it. I'm sure I said that incorrectly. But again, one of the cool things about their look is that they took their regular Clippers look of that ship and they essentially made sort of a pirate ghost ship thing out of it. And I dig it. And then one of my very new favorite hats, their Flex Fit for their Copa look. And it's kind of the angry sugar skull thing with bats. So really love what the Columbus Clippers have going on. I hope to get back out. We went, like I said, in 2018. Was supposed to go in 2019, and then my dog passed away. 2020 was interrupted by the Rona. Maybe 2021? Or maybe I should just go 2023 at the 5-year anniversary. But no, check out the Columbus Clippers. Follow them on Twitter. Some of the best, classiest looks in minor league baseball. They remind me of the Hooks in that way, that they go for a cleaner, classier look. And I think it makes a nice contrast in minor league baseball.
Who's on first? The Let's Get To Local 9. Brought to you by Zoomer Sport.
The now champion, Macon Bacon. Congratulations, first of all, on the championship. One of the things that I loved on the Twitter account about it was you recognize that it was a community waiting for that for a long time. Talk to me a little bit about just what it meant to win that thing.
Yeah, I mean, we have it in our ballpark here that it's highlighted that the 1962 Macon Peaches were the last team to win a championship here in Macon in Middle Georgia. And so we know it was a long time coming. So every year we start out the year similar to, I think, that what college baseball, those teams, you know, the road to Omaha, and everyone has a shot. And we felt like we were in the same boat. And so to come out and still play this year, but still have an opportunity to win a championship, it was like, you know, playing in our own field of dreams here at Luther Williams Field.
let's talk a little bit about the season then, because I mentioned before we got started that you were just glad to have 13, whatever the number was. I forgot.
1,300, but yeah, that would be great. 13,000. We'll take that.
Be like, yes, versus no 1,000 people. How do you feel like it went from y'all staff handling the COVID thing to your guests adjusting like they were supposed to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it really goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the season when we were on with y'all, and is if we do things the way we want to do it, we want to make sure it's done right, it was done safely, and it put us in the best position to be successful. And as we started going through the first couple of games, we realized that this wasn't as hard as we thought it was going to be, actually. I mean, it was a lot of preparation we had to put through, but it's true testament to our fans. I mean, they came out and they wanted to social distance. They wanted to watch baseball. They wanted to have some beer and bacon and everything in between. And it worked out great. So, to be able to put ourselves in that position, to be able to put ourselves in the opportunity to have the fans there, we felt confident that we were going to do it the right way, but we also wanted to make sure that our city was behind it, our mayor was behind it, and to be one of two teams in the entire state of Georgia, a sport in front of fans. I couldn't believe it. And between us and Savannah, we did it, and we had some along the way. Yeah,
and I think you're right. I think most level-headed people that are going to go out anyway are going to figure out pretty quickly what the procedures are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we found was that the people that wanted to come out did. The people that didn't want to come out didn't, and that was okay as well.
Yeah.
And so it was like a restaurant. If you want to come eat at the restaurant, come eat at the restaurant. If you don't, that's okay. But it was baseball, and that's what's so cool about it. America's pastime. It's summertime. We're playing baseball, and we have fans, and it was a lot of fun. And I tell you, we still were able to do have our entertainment. We were still able to really do things like we normally would do, just with the smaller capacity. And
sure.
What we saw even up to the championship game, and we saw that just everybody wanted to be out. They wanted to be a part of it and out in the open. And it was really something special. We're going to be able to look back from this years from now and look back at how crazy 2020 was, but we'll be able to say we played baseball. So,
and you're not done.
Yeah, we're not done.
So talk a little bit about, like, when I saw that come through, I was like, so talk to me a little bit about why you're not done. I mean, what made this decision possible?
Well, when our original schedule came out, it came out with 21 home games. We normally play 25.
Okay.
So knowing that our capacity was going to be way down, it was really started out as going to be a little bit of a revenue discussion, plus giving our full season ticket holders a full slate of games that they actually paid for, because they pay for 25 games. And so we started talking with our friends over at Savannah. Even though we are bitter rivals on the field, we actually talk to each other on a regular basis to share ideas. And so we found a way to add 4 more games to be able to get us to that threshold. And we actually ended up adding some more games throughout the season because of some of those northern teams in North Carolina that were supposed to come down and play us didn't. So we ended up with 31 home games versus 25.
Yeah.
We talked about just doing something fun with them and having a little bit of a 9-game series with Savannah Bananas, and we call it the Breakfast Bowl. And we're getting together. Now, what's great about it, and this is something that a lot of people probably that wouldn't have looked into it as deeply as we have, we actually brought in a brand new team. So our guys that were here, all college ball, summer ball players, came through for the summer, and they couldn't stay past August 16th. So middle of July, we realized that we need to still have a team of these. Us in the office. I mean, I'm 43, so I don't think I would still make it on more. But we had 140 individuals come to our tryout.
Wow,
that was intense. And we worked with them. We brought in Ryan Klesko, former major leaguer, former World Series champion. He lives in the Macon area, so he's our coach. Brought a new coaching staff, entire new team, and we're off to the races.
And again, so smart to continue to bring, because there's still going to be a vacuum. And I noticed the team, the pod in O'Fallon, out of sight of St. Louis, they were playing high school players, college players, and some affiliated minor league guys all on the same. I mean, it was just doing whatever you can do. And I love everything about that. We had Savannah on after we had you guys on because I take bacon over banana every day of the week. But
thank you. I appreciate it.
They did talk about the relationship, how really it is very cool that you have a rival, and at the same time, you guys are very much going in the same direction as far as where you're trying to get.
Yeah, it's you think about these days and age, and they're only a couple of hours down the road. It's easy to hate your rival, and we make fun of each other. We go at each other.
It's brutal.
And, but then it's like, 2 minutes later, we're on the phone talking about something or strategizing about the game.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of similarities the way we do things. And we're very fortunate to have them as our friends. And hopefully they feel the same about us. But it's a lot of fun to have somebody that close and really be able to get the fans behind it, and we all have shirts that make fun of each other, and it's easy to do it, but also it makes it even more special when we can jab at each other and then go grab a couple of beers with each other after the game.
Well, I will say they did feel the same way, that there was very much like they felt like having a rival meant that fans cared when you won or lost, and that's so hard at that level of baseball, right? Like, yeah, when rosters turn over.
Yeah, it's for us, a lot of people know that about college summer ball. We want to win. It's great that we won a championship. It's great that it was 58 years. But between us and Savannah and a lot of the Northwoods teams and other teams in the Coastal Plain League and other college summer ball teams that are out there, it can't be about just winning and losing. And it's got to be about entertaining our fans and having a fun family entertainment type of atmosphere. And if we can do that, then that's great. And we always talk about it. Like, you're going to have a lot of fun in our game, and you're probably not even going to remember what the score is on the way out. But if you have a smile on your face, that's what it's all about. And so the fact that, you win every once in a while too helps. But yeah.
So I guess as we wrap up, and we'll obviously have you back on beginning of next season, where are you guys with 2021? When do you start really looking at what all of it might be, particularly when we don't really know where we'll be with the virus?
Sure. Typically, and we run this like a true minor league team, we would have already started ticket renewals by now if we were in that space right now. So we are just we're holding tight a little bit. We're going to start our ticket renewals in the next week or so once our actual extension of our season's over. The Breakfast Bowl finishes up, and we're optimistic. We know we've already done it. So we know worst case scenario, we can do what we did. And which is, anybody that wants to talk to us about how we did it or where we did it or how it looked, we're happy to talk to them about it, share any ideas. But I think as we get closer to the first of the year and we get closer into next year, we're all very hopeful that we're going to be able to get back to hopefully what it's supposed to look like. And so we're going forward. We're going to continue moving. We're working on some off-season events at the ballpark. I'm working on a concert right now. Before I jumped on with you, I was on a call. So we're trying to do everything we can to keep Luther Williams Field going. But, we're just really thrilled and blessed to be able to say we had baseball this summer. We did it the right way, and maybe took home a piece of hardware, which I'm not exactly sure what our hardware looks like, but we got it.
You got it no matter what. Well,
that's right.
Brandon, thanks so much again. Congratulations from us to the Macon Bacon. And thanks a lot for being on our show this season. And we can't wait to have you on next year. And I will be out in Macon next year, guaranteed.
We would love to have you. We got VIP seats ready and willing to have you sit in. So appreciate you having me on.
The Minor League Mind with Jess Knaster. Brought to you by Marco Fine Arts.
All right, so on the Minor League Mind, we're going to do something a little bit different. Jess Knaster is here as usual, our contributor of the year. Get ready to contribute, mofo. But no, we
close to fully over.
Yeah. That's how good of a contributor you are. It doesn't even matter. It's ended. But no, we wanted to, as we get closer to the end of September, there should be, we hope, some decision between Major League and Minor League Baseball regarding the future of that organization and that partnership. And I kind of wanted to go through some of the big stipulations that or the reasons why MLB is saying they're contracting, and then we'll look at maybe some of the reality. You already look like you have something you want to say. What?
Well, I think there's one reality, and we'll save that for the end.
Okay. The first thing that they have said, look, I think you and I both have said on this show and in person, not everything Major League Baseball wants is bad. Like, it seems like if you're going to draft and pay a player, then you should be able to have good workout conditions, good developmental conditions, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I think on the surface, something like that, something like, just assurance that, I guess, putting the business side of baseball first before remembering that these are actual people we're talking about. It's asset management. It's you're going to give, one of my favorite stories of the time that I was in the Midwest League with the Quad Cities River Bandits was I got to pick up Alex Bregman from the airport. And here's a guy who just signed a giant contract and a $6 million signing bonus. And he's in the front seat of some dude's car getting paid $7.25 an hour. And what happens if something goes wrong? Oh my God, that's a giant thing. So it's asset management. It's making sure that what these major league owners are spending lots and lots and lots of money on and hoping it's going to be 15 to 20 years of just boatloads of cash coming in, that they can make sure that does end up happening. And the only reason that they don't get those boatloads of cash off of that player or those players is because they're not very good and not something extraneous.
Tearing up a knee on bad turf or something like that.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of this then, because I have been to a lot of ballparks. You have been to a lot of ballparks. Neither of us have been to all the ballparks, but between the two of us, we've been to a lot of ballparks. One of the things I noticed was when they mentioned ballpark conditions and therefore training facilities, things like this. And in my capacity, I get to see all that stuff. A lot of the ones that if you would have said, Jim, name 5 ballparks that need to be fixed and replaced, none of the ones that I would have guessed are on that list. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And then the big red flag for me is the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, who just put in millions of dollars with the Mets guidance on the list. Thoughts on that part of it?
Yeah, it's, when we get to the big reveal at the end of what we think the reality of it all, or at least what I think the reality of it all is, it will make more sense.
You should go into film. Look at you, like planting the seeds for the big climax. I love it.
I mean, it's the film portion of the degree that I kind of had to take, but here we are now.
Where we are.
So yeah, it's on the surface, it goes back to the previous point of asset management of, are these guys going to be able to work out in good conditions, whether it be on the field, are they going to take a grounder and have it hit a gopher hole and then it rearranges half their face? Or are they going to be able to work out in a weight room that isn't in a portable and is an actual physical brick and mortar room and not something just towed in or in somebody's backyard or beyond the center field fence in the parking lot? Is this all going to be good stuff? Do they have good cages? Do they have good pitching machines? Whatever else, and then just overall at the field conditions. And yeah, there's a lot of head scratchers. At least for me, having spent plenty of time in the California League, there are three of the oldest ballparks in minor baseball are in the California League, and none of those 3 teams made it onto the list because of facilities. I mean, they didn't make it on the list at all, but if you're going to pinpoint the oldest facilities, there are 3 ballparks in the California League that should be under solid consideration. That I don't know that if they were, but ultimately from the list that has been leaked, now almost a year old, they weren't on there. So that is a definite head scratcher.
Is it because Binghamton in reality has nothing to do with the ballpark, and it is because it's an economically depressed town that seems to be growing more and more economically depressed? Because to your point, San Antonio should be on that list. The fact that San Antonio is a AAA ballpark blows my mind.
Well, and moving into, are we ready to go into our realities yet?
Nope.
Okay.
We're still going. We have 2 more beats before we go to your reality.
Fair enough. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, to the point on Binghamton, it is, I think it is the notion that Binghamton is an area that people may not want to be, it's not going to be on anybody's list to move to right now. It is an economically depressed area. And, that kind of alludes to, I think, maybe a different reality than what is being pitched. But it is it was one of those things for me that was a big head scratcher as to why certain teams and certain facilities were spotlighted as being bad and others weren't.
The other big thing they kept saying was travel. We want to condense travel. Look, and maybe travel doesn't outweigh ballpark, and most of the parks in the Texas League are some of the best ballparks in the country. You, I know, have been to some of them, but that travel's not easy. That's the longest road trip, I believe, is Midland to Arkansas is the longest road trip in minor league baseball.
It's either Midland to Arkansas or Midland to Springfield is like 13, 14 hours. And, even that division, the Texas League is an 8-team league. And in the Western Division of the Texas League, or the North, the South as they call it, but it's all the teams that are West. You have the closest divisional teams for Amarillo and Midland are the two closest teams to each other, and that's a 4-hour drive. And they're in the same division. They make 4 or 5 trips to each other's ballpark in a given season, and then you have Frisco, which is 5-ish hours for both of those teams, and Corpus Christi, which is 7-ish hours for each of those teams. And that's the division. So, then it goes back to the same thing of, I understand you don't want your multi-million-dollar players on a bus for 14 hours because it's not healthy for them, and things sometimes go wrong on buses. And when they go wrong, they often are, unfortunately, catastrophic. And so if you can avoid that and have it be a 4-hour bus ride or a 3-hour bus ride, then you take that every time, because you can have either sleeper buses so these guys can stretch out and drive 2 of them, and it doesn't cost as much gas and all of that stuff too. But then also they're just not on the road for that long. So the travel aspect made sense, again, until they unveiled, or the list was unveiled for them, and the Texas League had no representatives on the list, and all of those double-digit travel schedules remained intact.
Well, and just for clarification, before we get to point 3, before we get to the summation, I guess, we're not advocating for any team to be on the list. We're just simply saying you have a list, and then you have the inaction of what you're saying you want, and none of those things jive. I think the most important part of it is they have made the argument that says, if we reduce it by these 40 teams, really 42, because the leaked plan, as old as it is to bring 2 teams into affiliated minor league baseball, that we can then pay the players more. And what industry would people, especially you and I have a very similar, I think, political beliefs, would we be okay with raising wages if it meant reducing the workforce by 30%?
Well, in the American society, I think that only exists as something people will cheer for if it's done as a reality television show. If you here's this extra bit of money, you minor leaguers over here, you minor leaguers over here, play a game of baseball. If you're the winning team, you survive. You're the losing team. Not only do you not get to stay in minor league baseball, but we are going to make you, I don't know, either do something embarrassing or perhaps dangerous, or both.
We might have just made $1 billion.
That's probably the only circumstance in which people would be okay with that, is televise it and make it trashy television.
Yeah, like I was thinking about it because the big Amazon famously raised their minimum wage they pay employees during the pandemic. Can you imagine if the follow-up had been, we also closed 2 factories? No, that would not have been okay. But we're okay because we imagine that all baseball players are rich, and so therefore we don't care. All right, so this is a long way around to getting somewhere. So I'll let you take the lead on where you think, or we think, this is all going.
It's
all a real estate deal, right?
It's all about money. It really is all about money. And I think with the added knowledge now that we have heard from more conversations, that not only did Major League Baseball want to lower the number of teams, but they also wanted to create some way that they had either part or full ownership of these teams. Oh, now it makes sense that the teams that in the Texas League might make a little bit more money than, say, a Binghamton, because Binghamton is in a more economically depressed area. Maybe they don't draw as well, or they don't charge as much for tickets, that if the Mets were to take over the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, they would not make as much money there as they would maybe in the Texas League or in the Southern League or somewhere else in the Eastern League, if they had their franchise there, either as part of what they call like a franchising thing of having it be independent ownership, but under the umbrella of the major league team. And so the travel instantly makes sense when you look at it from that standpoint. The ballparks make sense. Yeah, you still have 3 old ballparks in the California League, but those 3 old ballparks either have part or full ownership at the major league level. And so they're already making money off of those teams, off of those franchises and organizations. Or it also helps in some cases that they're in major media markets. And so they either think they can draw better than the current organization is running it. They might have a shot at building a new ballpark. I mean, if you open up 90 to 120 new American cities, new cities to major league owners, to the opportunity of milking the local governments for new ballparks or upgrades to ballparks, luxury suites every which way. I mean, basically turning any ballpark in the country into a mini major league stadium so that you have cash flow from so many different areas. And at least to me, one of the charms of minor league baseball is even in the nicer ballparks, the 10,000 seaters in AAA, or the 5,000-6,000 seaters that are kind of cookie cutter through the Southern League and the Texas League, at least, is that, you have that sort of corporate cash flow coming in, but there is still some small town feel. I mean, how many ballparks in Major League Baseball have a berm, have some sort of kind of open community seating? And that's why in San Diego, that feature at Petco Park is one of the best. You have the sandbox in right center field, and then the hill beyond right center or beyond center, where they show the game on a scoreboard for people who want to pay $5, come in and experience the game from out there, and they're not actually seeing anything live except for people in the grandstand. So I think, that's money ultimately. I mean, it's pro sports, so money is going to be the deciding factor. But I think it boils back down to, with the knowledge that Major League Baseball wants to be involved from a monetary and a ownership level, and to some degree, if not a full degree, all of these otherwise loophole sort of circumstances make a lot more sense. It's like, oh, you were telling us this, but because of these issues, we recognize you're not telling the truth. This is what it actually is.
There's a couple of things to add to that as far as pieces of evidence. One, that the story leaked out that I think it was the Pittsburgh Pirates attempted to buy the West Virginia Power. The franchise was they asked Pittsburgh lowballed them. Next thing you know, they're on the list, devaluing the franchise. I'm of two minds, like we said, no situation is black and white. And I have concerns about fan experience and whether those are going to be true or not. But I just wish for once at a macro level, we could just be told the truth about something that's happening.
Yeah, it seems like more so than ever, sports is certainly not immune to it. And it's in other areas too, that right now, people who have money and power feel as emboldened as ever to do what they want to, and feel like they need to not only keep it, but be a hungry hippo and reach out and grab more. And, certainly that's the case in baseball, where, or it seems like that's the case in Major League Baseball, where there's whatever tactics necessary, devaluing franchises by threatening with putting them on a list or whatever it else may be, to just kind of grab more. And it's brazen, but at the same time, it kind of fits in place with things that other pro sports leagues, other businesses are doing. And without a feeling of accountability, there's not going to be any truth coming from the individuals who are perpetrating whatever the action is that people are complaining about.
All right, last question then. Do you think that we famously said that there was a list, and then we were told the list wasn't the list anymore, although there's been no new list. Do you think COVID is going to affect the list? Are they going to just basically make sure that the teams they pick are the ones who unfortunately won't survive this?
I think the list is probably not going to change too much because the teams that are on it, I think to a certain extent, fit the sort of criterion that Major League Baseball wanted to eliminate from their future developmental organization. But I also, to me, I think the list is not going to matter too much. Personally, I think the PBA is going to lapse. And as soon as it lapses, Major League Baseball is just going to pick cherries from whatever part of the orchard they want. And so the list will probably somewhat resemble what they end up having in their bushel, just to continue the farming metaphor here. But do you put cherries in a bushel? I don't know. I live in the desert.
I'm about to say we're media guys, dude. I have no idea. I eat cherries.
Yes. Wherever they come from, a bushel, a basket, whatever, I'll take them. But I think really it ultimately is, for me, that Major League Baseball is going to decide on what they want. The list, I think, was a peek inside what they want their future developmental league or organization to look like. And I don't think there will be too many teams that were on the list or organizations that were on the list that will make the cut into next year. But who knows? You know, I think that if this wasn't leaked by whoever it was leaked by in September, October of last year, and then reported on in November of last year, we may be spending this whole year completely in the dark. Then just be blindsided by, half of minor league baseball as you know it is gone. Okay, cool, 2020. The
2020.
Gift.
Follow up to the final question then. Does that mean that the organization, the official organization known as Minor League Baseball, MILB, just goes away?
I think if Major League Baseball runs the clock out and then starts doing their own little thing, then yes. I don't think they're going to try to work with Minor League Baseball as an organization because of what trouble MILB has given Major League Baseball in the midst of all of these conversations. I think they're just going to handpick who they want in the league. If they do have any sort of managerial office for minor league baseball and a Major League Baseball developmental branch, they'll pick their own people to be in charge of that. Maybe they'll pick some people from the minor league office, but I think ultimately Major League Baseball is going to take their newfound power and assert it to how they see fit. And they will get to have everything they want next year. And, then we can have our conversations be about how minor league baseball or whatever the new developmental league, probably sponsored by somebody to make Major League Baseball more money, wink, wink, the G League, we'll be able to talk about, the fan experience, because that's its own conversation. But I think if Major League Baseball ends up getting their way, then money will have won in small town pro baseball, and the whole landscape will just be unrecognizable.
Ladies and gentlemen, please adjust your scorecards. We have a special guest in the lineup.
All right, so we're excited to welcome on our special guest segment our buddy over there at SaveMILB.org. How's it going, man?
Doing well, James. How are you?
We are doing good. I don't know if you noticed. Look, I'm in Austin, Texas, so I need to calm down on the panic level, but there are 2 hurricanes barreling right for us.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, so the Astros, literally breaking news, they are going to go ahead and preemptively turn their series into doubleheaders this weekend.
Really?
With the Angels. Yeah. So they've moved Thursday's game basically to tomorrow as part of a 2-7 game, and then moved back Wednesday's game back 8 hours. So, and I'm waiting for assholes on Twitter to say I'm rooting for the Hurricane.
Well, I'm not going to try my hand at being a wise ass, because it never works out well for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so or fingers crossed for you, man. Been fortunate. North Carolina has not gotten hit in any kind of serious way so far this year, even though we're still early in the season.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? People don't know what it's like you and me. This is part of life, and it really is just beginning. Let's talk a little bit, though. Speaking of hurricanes and storms, this episode in part's already been dedicated. Jess Knaster was on the segment before yours, reminding everybody what this was. Baseball America has been talking about Manfred's one baseball thing, and it feels it's like the QAnon or QAnon of baseball stuff, where we're not quite sure. He doesn't really talk about what it means. What does one baseball mean?
So one baseball's been around for a little bit, but I think that its current form has just kind of grown and changed over time, and we haven't really paid attention to how much groundwork has been laid out. So in 2014, Manfred started the One Baseball Plan as this idea to get all of baseball in both its amateur and professional form really under the major league umbrella, building up a very strong brand presence where if you grow up playing baseball, liking baseball, you are also going to grow up being a major league fan. So it's been going around since 2014, and we've seen a lot of things happen over the past 6 years in terms of the amateur game. So collegiate wood bat leagues getting more technology pumped into them with MLB dollars. Same thing with summer leagues. So the one baseball movement starts off as this movement designed to, really get everything baseball underneath Major League Baseball as the holy trinity, if you will, of the game.
Which for devil's advocate, the NFL does the same thing with their flag football leagues, and I'm assuming basketball does much the same thing. But the thing that's different about those is that minor league baseball has operated independently from Major League Baseball for over a century. That these are two separate entities that have always had a partnership. Hasn't always been a great partnership. There's been some bad relationships there, but it's been a partnership. And now this is the one baseball movement that we see, especially as it relates to contraction, is how will minor league baseball change as part of the one baseball movement? And if you think about it, minor league baseball has over 160 teams. And well, there are large ownership groups. We still have dozens and dozens of owners and individual businessmen and women who are trying to run their operations, their organizations. And they're small businesses, and the Major League Baseball platform looks to, well, I don't want to say intrude is too soft of a word, but it looks like it's really an invasive approach to getting in, finding out ways which they can use data that they collect from ticket sales to better market, to better sell information, get slices of minor league baseball advertising dollars. And, really just be able to filter the Major League Baseball brand down through the minor leagues so that you're always, my fear is that you're always going to be at a minor league ballpark and thinking you're at small potatoes, right? Like you're not seeing what the big product is, which is always going to be the hyped Major League product. So I think it's going to change the character of minor league baseball, which I think sucks. Like I think it turns it into more of a top-down look at that game, which maybe if you're into G League basketball, relatively new thing, this is a good opportunity for you. And in the collegiate sports level, we've always had this differentiation where there's always been, some there's always this element of give and take between the amateur and the professional leagues. With minor league baseball, this is two professional leagues and one is trying to, looks like take over the other. So, you're a smart guy. So let's play devil's advocate.
Yes.
What are the benefits to the game of baseball from a one baseball approach?
For the game of baseball, and I'm going to say this, when I say game of baseball, I should note that I mean not the major league game or the minor league game, but just baseball as a whole. This, the thing that I'm holding right here.
Right.
The benefit to this potentially could be that we see a growth in youth level or a youth interest in baseball, and we see an amateur market and everything that comes with it when it comes to selling uniforms and equipment and all those good things that you need to play a game. That could create some business opportunities there. In terms of what we're going to see, if you're a Major League Baseball fan, you'll probably see guys move through the minors a lot faster. There'll be more information about these guys as they're coming up. You could see some really high caliber level of play produced from this potentially down the road. But the negatives of it are you have one hegemonic entity that's going to control what the game looks like, how it's shaped, how we come to understand it and think about it. So I guess it all depends on how you like your baseball. If you want like a one-size-fits-all kind of baseball, this one baseball plan will probably offer you, it's the chain restaurant style. You'll be able, an Applebee's in Wisconsin is the same as an Applebee's in Texas, as the same as an Applebee's in Maine. Sure. And that's what I think is the long-term problem with it. And of course, obviously, my concern from minor league baseball standpoint is I think that the game is at its most enjoyable form and at its best business form as small businesses, as opposed to having Major League Baseball, I think, maybe get too much, put their hand too much in the pudding.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely share those concerns. Like you said, a lot of these teams are owned by small business families who said, "I want to for the one time own a team." Yeah, and there's I like the investment in collegiate summer league. I like all of that part's good. Here's the part that worries me, and I want your take. If we follow the NFL example, we follow the NBA example. There are no rival professional leagues. What does this mean for independent baseball with this one?
I think this is it presents them with an interesting challenge. And it's going to be about how much money they have and how they can survive this thing. But, the Atlantic League recently announced that they would be willing to adopt the minor league teams that are going to be likely cut as part of the 42 team contraction. So we're seeing at least that league put feelers out there, I think, and really try to get a sense of what they can accomplish. I think that for indie ball leagues, you might see more small leagues pop up. I think big leagues like the Atlantic League, which has a presence on, both sides of the country, they're going to go towards those bigger cities. But it would be cooler if they had some feeder league teams, which would be semi-pro. You couldn't make a living doing this, and it's not like the minor leaguers can, anyways. But it would be an interesting thing to have this semi-pro league pop up as maybe a way of keeping those kids who played ball in high school or in college, and this is fun, and they can make some beer money, and we'll see something more grassroots. It would be a different thing. I think it could be a really cool thing.
And I think you're right. It's interesting because if you look at, there are three major independent leagues, right? There is the Atlantic League, there is the Frontier League, and then there's the American Association. The Atlantic League might be the only one positioned to be able to do what you've described. I think the American Association is fairly healthy, but the Frontier League, I looked at them combining with, I think, the Can-Am League this past year, seemed like a death rattle almost. So I don't know if they're financially going to be able to keep up if that becomes what you have to do to survive.
And that is going to be the challenge for all these indie ball clubs. It's a challenge for these minor league teams, but indie ball clubs, I'm only speaking, I'm kind of speaking out of my ass a bit, but I don't think their margins are quite as robust as minor league margins, which are already tiny.
Yeah. It's why a lot of them, when they collapse, become collegiate summer league, because you don't have the expense of paying players.
Yeah. But the interesting thing about this to one baseball is, I believe in the most recent round of, or a recent press release, minor league baseball said that there's probably about 80 teams that are either looking to be cut by contraction or will not be financially solvent by the end of the season. One Baseball kind of puts it in Major League Baseball's hands and says, well, we've got these 40 teams that are about to go under because there was no season. You want to One Baseball? Let's One Baseball.
And you're exactly right. As we wrap up, it's the ultimate Manfred mistake in a way. If they just kept their mouth shut, the economic situation might have taken care of this for themselves.
Yeah.
And not risk them the thing. But here's the thing. Is the biggest concern, my last question, is the biggest concern MLB running One Baseball, or is the bigger concern Rob Manfred running One Baseball?
Well, I'm very critical of Rob Manfred, and I don't think that's a secret. But I do think,
that's why we have you on.
Yeah, I don't think that the owners necessarily have a different view from Manfred. So I think whoever is in charge of the office, it's gonna come down to the same thing. I don't think this is about building a good sustainable game. Even though that might be how it's packaged, I think that this is a great opportunity for them to do what they want to do, which is find a way to sell us more advertising and find a way to, line their pockets, which good business does, but,
at the expense of what?
Exactly.
Well, thanks for coming on. I imagine, we are going to get down to the point where you're going to be a regular fixture on the show for the coming weeks. I think we're getting really close to whatever decision this is going to be.
I'm hoping so. Fingers crossed. The new negotiating team, in my opinion, looks like it is, to me, when I see the owners that they brought on, and they're owners with good reputations with my major league teams and had strong relations building franchises and affiliations at those clubs. They're credible people, and I think they're going to push hard for what minor league baseball and Pat O'Connor and all the folks down there in the St. Petersburg office are trying to do.
On deck, the Let's Get To interview, brought to you by Fine Line Sportswear.
Here we are in the On Deck segment. We're excited to welcome back to the show Chris Almendarez, the president of the Round Rock Express. Chris, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me, James. It's been a long summer, but it's been a fun summer.
Let's talk to summer then, because lows, highs had to end a little early, but overall, man, how do you think it went?
I think it was it was amazing summer when you kind of look at how everything kind of fell into place. We were approached probably in late May about possibly doing being part of an expansion team for the TCL, and we kind of looked at it, ran the numbers, and we thought, look, one, let's do that. That's kind of what our mission statement with the Round Rock Express is. Growing the game of baseball, America's pastime, and of course with COVID and everything that's going on, the opportunity to get some local kids and get them a chance to play at Dale Diamond. We thought, let's do this and give them an opportunity. And, to be honest with you, to create a little revenue for the Round Rock Express. And so we thought 15 games, would help us out a little bit to get us through the summer. And to be the only baseball that was really played in the month of June was pretty exciting, along with the other teams. And, personally, with both my boys involved, it was very special.
Yeah, and I don't think you should be embarrassed to bring up the revenue, because you and I talked about it before, and you wanted revenue to keep people employed. There's nothing wrong. I feel like we talk money and people get really grossed out, but that's the fact of the matter is you're trying to keep people employed.
Well, look, I appreciate you saying that. We're in the events business, and we make events. We host events, and that's how we create revenue. And during a normal year, the Round Rock Express will have 70 home games, and then in the off season, we're looking at different events that we do. A couple of years back, we hosted the Fear the Walking Dead season 4. We rented the stadium out for that. We've done bull riding, we've done concerts, so we're all at different things. But when the bulk of your business is not being played, it really affects the bottom line. And unfortunately, like we talked about early in the summer, we had to let go 40% of our staff. And, that was probably one of the darkest days in Round Rock Express history. And myself, along with Tim Jackson, our general manager, it was some of the toughest phone calls and face-to-face things that we had to do, because really it was nobody's fault. And so the thing that we got to look at, we're in charge of running the business operations for the Round Rock Express is what's, long-term sustainability and making sure that we can, keep this thing going. And we've got a great ownership group with the Ryan Sanders group, and, an opportunity to play some baseball and do what we do best. When you look at different events, I always talk to our staff about doing baseball-centric events. If it's something about baseball, we're really good at that. And we're good at other events, but it's, the thing you got to look at is the integrity of the field and what's the wear and tear on the stadium as well.
Before we kind of go to Round Rock and you, real quick, this is probably people's first glimpse at collegiate summer league baseball. It's very weird because it's not huge here. It's huge everywhere else. Do you think that maybe they'll be able to find some way to keep that growing in the state? Maybe not in Round Rock, obviously, but maybe smaller communities?
I think that's one of the things, why we jumped in. Our founder, Reed Ryan, he was playing in a collegiate summer league and then went into professional baseball after his collegiate, career. And one of the things he always talks about is going to those small communities. And, his dream was to open up the Round Rock Express and launch it in Austin. And then it was pushed to Round Rock. And look, what we've done in 20 years has been amazing.
Yeah.
The minor league baseball system, as traveling the country. But, when you look at collegiate leagues, Cape Cod, California, the Cal Ripken League in Maryland, Wood Bat League, there's a lot of different leagues that are really good out there. And the Texas Collegiate League, it's a great league. I think, when we looked at it, we said, look, let's get a chance to kind of give it, you had ourselves, San Antonio, Tulsa, Frisco, and jumping in. So it kind of gave a little bit more credibility with the facilities that were being used and just the operations of those teams to get behind it. And look, it was fun. Our big thing is we wanted to give these kids an opportunity to play baseball at the highest level that we could give them. And look, for 13 games, we thought we did a great job this summer.
You did a great job, and I think I told you before offline, my wife's in fairs and events professionally, and she thought y'all handled COVID as good or better than anybody else that she's seen. So y'all definitely deserve credit for that. We're entering in an uncertain off season. How are you guys preparing? Are you still having to look at what's going to happen with the PBL, but also COVID maybe sticking around? How are y'all pivoting?
I think, when you look at kind of the behind the scenes stuff, I'm on a PCL call every Thursday. And so we're up to date on kind of the negotiation, things like that have happened. There's been some paperwork that we've talked to. I'm constantly talking to Reese Ryan, who I report to. And then of course, Reed Ryan, with the Astros and our founder. Doing the Texas Collegiate League, one of the things we wanted to do was, to have some experience with hosting an event, at a smaller level with fans. And, we got comfortable with that. And look, we were at 25%. Actually, that was even less than 25% for the baseball games that we hosted in June. We feel we can grow that number as the state opens back up. And so that was one of the things. Hey, let's come up with processes and how we clean the stadium, how we get people in and out, how we, you were here, how the concourses and things like that. So, as this grows, we want to be prepared for whatever happens. And so, right now, the tough part right now is the calendar, or the schedule that we have. We don't know what it's going to be. There's talks about other teams leaving the PCL and different levels and different things like that. So until we get something, I think the thing that we have, one, because we didn't have the season last year, there's some of the promotions that we're just going to push to next year anyway. So those will be easy to kind of jump in and go from there. But I think the toughest thing is just getting a schedule and then looking at the promotions. And James, one of the other things we got to look at our business is the way we did business in the past is different. What we found with these TCL games is the advances aren't as big as what the walk-up is. The walk-up, the day of sells and the walk-up, I mean, it basically is almost 100% of what the advanced sales are, which in the past it wasn't like that. People would buy 2 weeks out, opening day tickets and that kind of thing. So we've got some data on how people's buying habits have changed, and that's one of the things our staff. This week we're starting we've got our staff meetings, but then we also got a sales and marketing meeting every Thursday as well, and kind of diving into that. How what can we do, and again, it's all about safety for the fans with COVID, but it's also how do we look at our business differently and make sure that people are safe and they want to come out to the stadium.
Well, I have no doubt that no matter how this pivots, both with the sort of MLB, MILB negotiations and with COVID, you guys are going to be leading the charge. It seems to be the biggest part of your brand identity, right, is being first and foremost. I'm assuming you are familiar with the MILB writer Benjamin Hill. I imagine he's been out there.
Yes.
Well, he is the namesake of our Person of the Year award. And Chris, it is our privilege to, you're the Let's Get To Person of the Year this year. I think it was a no-brainer for our staff. You are the definition of integrity. You're the definition of what it means to be about baseball, and it is our privilege to give you that award this year.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys and thank your staff for thinking of me. One, I'm very humbled to get an award like this. You get awards like this, and it's really my staff and my right-hand man, Tim Jackson. What he does every single day is make me better. He makes me better, and we're accountable to each other. JJ Gotts, our COO with Ryan Sanders Baseball, was the one that kind of, him and I worked hand in hand to kind of figure this thing out. And to be honest with you, one of the things when we talked about hosting this Texas Collegiate League baseball team, I really kind of wanted to have a little bit of an arm's distance, just because both my oldest son Chase was going to be the manager, and then Luke was going to be a player. And I wanted those kids really to have the opportunity to just play baseball and do something they love. And there was a couple of games where they actually let me just sit in the stands and just be a dad in the stands. And, look, those kids have been through a lot. When we started this, we talked about our family adversity, but, I'll tell you, there's three people that really, actually there's four people that I really need to thank. And that was, my mom came out to most of the games to watch her grandsons. My mother-in-law was here. Chase's wife, Jordan Almendarez, my favorite daughter-in-law, was here, and she was at a lot of the games. And then my girlfriend, Lindsay Vogel, who we've dated for the last 2 years. Look, when we found this out was going to happen, they were excited as much as I were. They also knew it was going to be a long month for all of us. I hosted 4 kids in my 2-bedroom apartment, and it felt like a dorm room. So poor Lindsay didn't get to see me much, but there's a lot of people that were involved to make this happen. I'm more proud of our staff. I'm excited to let our staff know that this was to me, it's a team award, because what people don't see, the early mornings of us coming in to clean the stadium and getting the stadium ready for the next game that night. I mean, there was a lot of work that went into it, and just very fortunate that we had the opportunity to do it. And then, look, here's the thing. The kids that have played, the feedback that we've gotten, I was down at the Frio River this week, and there was a couple that were with us, and they're still talking about the Harryman in the summer of 2020. And they're going to be old and like me someday, and realize what that summer of 2020 was, and being a part of the Harryman team. So thank you guys so much, and I'm very honored and humbled to receive this.
That is the kind of answer as to why you got the award, Chris. Thank you so much for being on the show, being a part of our baseball journey, and we can't wait to have you back on next year and be back out at the Dell.
Well, man, thanks for everything you guys do, and you're a big fan of the Round Rock Express, and we're a big fan of yours. And so, if there's anything we can do, please come out and say hi. And you're always welcome here, VIP.
Holler and a Swaller, a chug of ballpark brew. Presented by The Hitter Sports.
And we are back on Holler and a Swaller, presented by The Hitter Sports. And we are going to start using this as a way to thank some of the people that have been so helpful to our show, that have helped the show just get better and keep growing. And a lot of those are going to come from our very new Patreon and our Patreon subscribers. Our Patreon is going to be a place where we're going to let people see episodes a little early, and we're going to create some new content for them. But we want to thank our very first 2 on Let's Get To Patreon subscribers. And the first one's going to go out to Carlo Rodriguez. Carlo is one of my oldest friends. He has been a supporter of mine, all of our films, all of our endeavors, including this one. He's not a baseball guy, but this guy has been on the show. He is pretty much, him and Jessica are the people that I can be like, hey, I'm trying something weird, and they will give me every reason why it's going to succeed. And you need that in your life. I'm also going to give this toast to Hardy the Hat Guy, who is a fan of the show. He became our second contributor to our Patreon and has just been so supportive from afar. We are going to have him on to talk a little baseball hat a little bit later on. But so I'm going to toast you guys. Now, before we get started, I do want to point out the tumbler. I've got 1,800 tequila in there, but I want to look at the tumbler. It is basically a glass baseball, and it's one of my go-tos. I drink whiskey out of this nonstop, but we're going to do 1,800 tequila. I was feeling a little lighter today. So to Carlo and to Hardy the Hat Guy, holler and a swaller, baby.
And now, on to close it out, the right-hander from Houston, Texas, James Christopher.
So that does, in fact, wrap us up for this week's episode. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We have another great episode coming up for you Friday. But before we do, we want to announce 3 more award winners, and then we'll do the rest of them next Friday. So we do have our Benjamin Hill Person of the Year, and we named this after Ben Hill. Ben does so much writing for MLB.com to promote the game of minor league baseball, to make sure that we're aware of really how special it is. Because if you think about how special minor league baseball is, then you get a real glimpse into how special Major League Baseball can be. I use the word can be because I don't think that it really, at any level, has really fulfilled its potential as far as, particularly in this pandemic. Baseball had an opportunity to really bring this country together, and it chose to do none of those things. And so, but if you look at what minor league baseball can do, that's why we give our Person of the Year is more often than not associated directly with minor league baseball. And that person this year is Chris Almendarez, who we had on the show a little bit earlier, the president of the Round Rock Express. And they saw a need. They saw a need for the community. They saw a need for players, and they saw a need for their staff. And they said, you know what, if we cannot play as the Round Rock Express, the affiliate of the Houston Astros, we're going to find a way to play. And they joined the TCL and had a great season that was unfortunately cut a few games short. But it was a no-brainer for us, hearing his story of his baseball family and what the game has meant to him. I recommend going back and watching that interview from a few weeks ago where he talks about the week that they finally got to play being 5 years to the week that his wife had died suddenly. So it's a very emotional interview. He and I, we had a moment for sure, but I highly recommend it. So Chris is going to be our Person of the Year. Our Entrepreneur of the Year is going to go to Megan Ellis from Home Sweet Ballpark. And we felt like we had to recognize the fact that because of the way things work, everybody sells merch. Everybody has something that they are creating for the landscape. And oftentimes it's like, breaking tea or whatever, where it's a little bit short-lived and it's a little bit trolly in its nature. But, I think they're the ones who did the dugout stare for the Astros last year or the year before, one or the other. I don't remember now. What I like about Megan's stuff is that, first of all, a lot of it is stuff that, they have cuts for females as well, which you don't always see everywhere else. But a lot of it is purpose-driven. We got the shirt that was to help the Red Sox Foundation. They were raising money in the Boston Marathon before it was canceled. They're doing the shirt they have now for a charity is The Baseball Gods Are Real. There's a lot of heart into it, and I think reflection of the best part of the game. So it was very exciting for us to name them our Entrepreneur of the Year. And then our Baseball Spirit Award goes to Erik Mertens, Erik the Peanut Guy. Again, check out that interview from last week. It was another one that was it was nice to have a real honest conversation about the sport of baseball from someone who loves it as much as I think anybody who's watching this show does. So it does wrap us up for this episode. We have some fun bobbleheads on here. This is one of my favorite ones, Colin McHugh, his Matrix dodging the baseball. I don't know why. My ADD is real, y'all. But we will be back on Friday. We want to thank the Macon Bacon for coming on. Congrats again on your championship. I want to thank everybody else for joining us. Had a great time. And until next time, let's get to